This is a Honda. And so is this. So is this. And also this. They built a robot once. Friendly thing. Harmless. That's the Honda most people know. Reliable, affordable, quietly excellent. The brand that never gets in your way. But then while that is true, this is also a Honda. And this. And these. Because Honda isn't just a name on a badge. It's a man. A man who never once woke up in the morning thinking about minivans. He woke up thinking about trophies. But by the mid-90s, the trophies had stopped coming. The NSX was aging. The Prelude was losing. And the company Soichiro built to go fast was quietly becoming a company that made people comfortable. So they made one last bet. One machine. Everything they had left to prove. Powered by a racing heart beating at 9,000 revolutions per minute. This was the realization of Soichiro Honda's life's work. They called it the S2000. And then they destroyed it. By the time the 90s were bleeding out, Honda was bleeding with them. The Japanese economy had cracked. The NSX, the car that made Ferrari nervous, was starting to look like yesterday's dream. Honda needed something. Not a refresh, not a facelift, a statement. But to understand what they built, and why losing it meant what it meant, you have to go back to 1906. A blacksmith's village near Mount Fuji. A kid named Soichiro Honda who had never finished school, but couldn't stop taking things apart. He wasn't building a brand. He was chasing something. Soichiro believed that an engine wasn't just a machine. It was an argument that precision mattered more than size. That a small displacement, spinning fast enough, with enough engineering conviction behind it, could beat anything. He proved it on motorcycles. He proved it in Formula One. He proved it in the 1970s with Civics that humiliated V8 at the pump. But after Soichiro stepped back in 1973, something shifted. Honda got practical. The Accord, the CR-V, the Odyssey, sensible cars, good cars, cars that people needed, but not cars that anyone believed in. For 20 years, Honda forgot what it felt like to build something with a pulse. Until a group of engineers, staring at a declining NSX and a dying Prelude, decided it was time to remember. And they built it. Now let me show you what was inside. The S2000 wasn't born from a market research report. It was born from Honda's 50th anniversary. A milestone. The brief was almost offensively simple. Rear-wheel drive. Naturally aspirated. 2 seats. Rev higher than anything else alive. Handle better than cars that cost twice as much. And above all, remind people what Honda used to stand for. Chief Engineer Shigeru Uehara, the same man who'd worked on the original NSX, was handed the project. He started with the frame, a so-called X-bone structure, designed to give an open-top car the torsional rigidity of something with a roof. Front mid-engine layout, with the engine pushed back and low, as close to the firewall as physically possible. Every single decision fed the same obsession. Make the car feel like an extension of the driver. But the real miracle was what went under the hood. The F20C, 2 liters, 4 cylinders, 9,000 RPM redline. When Honda unveiled the output figures for this engine, people thought there was a misprint. 123 horsepower per liter from a naturally aspirated 4-cylinder road car. To put that in context, Ferrari's V12 at the time weren't touching those numbers. Lamborghini's V10 wasn't there either. Ferrari's own chief engineer later said that the F20C was the non-Ferrari engine he admired most. And it wasn't just the power, it was how it got there. The engineers used fiber-reinforced metal cylinder liners, a material borrowed from aerospace. Forged pistons, a single-valve spring design pulled directly from Honda's racing program. The intake and exhaust valves set at a narrow 25.5-degree angle to help the engine breathe at speeds most road cars never see. The F20C won International Engine of the Year. It held the record for the highest specific output of any naturally aspirated road car engine until 2010, when Ferrari's 458 Italia finally edged past it. 11 years. One engine. Built by Honda. This was the most technically perfect thing they had ever made. And then, in 2004, Honda blinked. The complaints had been building, mostly from North America. The S2000, it turned out demanding something from its driver. You had to work for it. You had to rev it. If you drove it like a normal car, it felt sluggish below 4,000 revolutions per minute. So Honda softened it. The AP2, new suspension tuning, less oversteer, more stability, a detuned sense of danger. And, most controversially, a new engine, the F22C, 2.2 liters instead of 2, lower redline, more torque lower down, more accessible. The enthusiast community split down the middle. AP1 purists refused to acknowledge the AP2 as a real S2000. But here's the darker read on what happened. Honda wasn't just trying to broaden the car's appeal. They were trying to save it. And that's when you know something is already dying. When the people who built it stopped trusting it to be what it was. The thing about the mid-2000s is that nobody wanted a pure sports car anymore. The SUV wave that had been building for a decade crested. The S2000 had nowhere to run. It was too expensive for people who just wanted something fun. The Miata sat right below it and was cheaper and easier. It wasn't exclusive enough for people with real money. A Porsche Boxster sat right above it and wore a better badge. And it only came with a manual. In 2009, manual transmission take rates in the US were below 10%. More than half of all Mazda Miatas sold that year were automatics. The S2000 looked at those numbers and shrugged. Meanwhile, gas prices were spiking, and a two-seat sports car with the fuel economy of a V6 Mustang wasn't exactly the vehicle of the moment. In 2001, peak year, Honda moved over 8,000 S2000 in the US alone. By 2008, 1 year before the end, they sold a few hundred. That's not a niche. That's a ghost. January 27, 2009. Honda Motor Company issued a press release. It was brief, clinical, 3 paragraphs. Production of the S2000 would end. All regions. No exceptions. The final cars would roll off the line at the Takanezawa plant in Tochigi by the end of June. John Mendel, Executive VP of American Honda, offered a line that probably felt generous in the boardroom. The S2000 had raised the bar for all future roadsters and was already considered a classic. That's what you call something when you're done with it. In 10 years, Honda had built 110,673 S2000 worldwide. Over 65,000 of those went to the United States. Sold in 64 countries. Won 5 consecutive engine awards. Earned the respect of Ferrari. And it was over. And somewhere in a design studio or an engineering lab, there was probably someone who had given 5 years of their life to that car, sitting at their desk, reading that press release, not saying anything. That silence is what this video is really about. Here's the part that should make Honda's accountants physically uncomfortable. The moment the S2000 died, its value started climbing. A car that was struggling to sell for its $34,000 sticker price in 2008 started trading on the used market at $25,000, then $30,000, then $40,000. Clean, low-mileage AP1 started touching $50,000, $60,000. Today, the average used S2000 on the market sits above $30,000. Some examples breach $60,000. Honda killed it because not enough people wanted it. And then, the moment it was gone, everyone wanted it. The F20C and F22C engines were never used in another Honda. They lived and died in that one car. Honda built the most extraordinary naturally aspirated 4-cylinder road car engine in history, and then retired it, alone, with no air. Meanwhile, the Miata is still alive, on its 4th generation. The car that survived is the one that compromised. The car that died is the one that refused to. The S2000 wasn't just a sports car. It was proof of something. Soichiro Honda died in 1991, 8 years before the S2000 launched. And if you've ever driven one, really driven one, out past 6,000 revolutions per minute where the VTC opens up and everything goes quiet except the engine, you already know what was lost. You don't need me to explain it. You just feel it.